Appreciate you. How much time do I have, by the way?
You have an hour.
Okay. All right. Hopefully we don't put people asleep, so we'll try. My name's Daniel Rush. I'm the CPS supervisor for Box Elder County. I came from Weber County as a supervisor down there. Been in the division for just over 5 years. I'll let Andy introduce himself.
All right, can you hear me? Okay. I'm Andy Wells. I am the ongoing program manager. So basically, I supervise all the caseworkers that gets anything referred from CPS for ongoing services. I've been with DCFS for 12 years now. I was born and raised in Brigham City, proud graduate of Box Elder High School. I'll make some of you feel old. They definitely had some of you in high school. Keith Meekum for sure. I remember in his math class, he always taught us during basketball season was the best time to have him because he teach you all the good stuff to trash talk. Like who was a coach's son. My favorite one was when they ended Skyview's region winning streak. He said, now we're winning this game tonight, and when it happens, you're all going to chant, it's all over. So, anyway.
I don't even recall it.
So if he's ever getting mad at you, be like, well, I'm not teaching kids to trash talk, so. Sorry, Daniel.
No, you're good.
Apparently that's for this, but they can't hear you in the back, so you're probably going to have to speak closer.
All right. We'll share this. So a caveat for today, I do have my phone on me. All calls that come in to CPS, I have to take. And so if that happens, Andy will take over. So just so you know, I'm not being rude. We also have our Attorney General, Tyler Ulrich. Where you at? Right back there. So all cases that go to the court process go through Tyler. We want him to be here in case there are legal questions as well. And then what I want this to look like as we go and present, if you have questions, please raise your hand. Don't feel shy. Ask them. We can walk back there if you want the mic, whatever you want. Just ask them as we go, please, okay? It works out better that way. So DCFS, we'll get into what that means. There's a department, DHHS, and then under that is DCFS, okay? CPS is part of DCFS, but it's just a team within that division. Does that make sense? Okay. You're welcome. Okay, this is a process of every child investigation case. It starts with the call to intake. As you can see at the very bottom, somebody makes a call to our intake services. That's a 24/7, all year, all day, anytime you want. If you have a concern, call them, and they take all cases. Once that is called to intake and they accept it, it then comes to me. That CPS case is reported to me. I assign it to one of my workers, and we come to the school or to the home or wherever the kids are at and do that investigation. So right here in the middle part, we're in the midst of the investigation, and I'll explain this more, okay? After we find that the investigation, the allegations are true, allegation meaning what was reported, we then go to two different options, and that goes into Andy's realm. So that first realm is us doing voluntary services with the family, meaning no court order. They're willing to work with us. We're willing to work with them. At any time, they can kick us out. They can tell us to go and beat rocks. The other part is if we don't feel like that would be a good case for the family, we'll go to the court service. And that is mandated court services to where the judge applies different court orders. They have to do these certain services and fulfill obligations, maybe drug testing, that kind of stuff. Okay? So that would be ordered up here at the top. And then we go into what Andy would do to apply those services ordered by the court. Okay, so in the nutshell, that's just a quick overview. Any questions about that? Okay. All right, so what happens when it's reported? So somebody will call the intake. They'll give them all the information that you can. Please, if you have information, don't withhold it. The more the merrier. Where the kids live, the family, any concerns you have, bruising you may have seen, other information you may have gathered throughout the years, all that kind of stuff is very pertinent, okay? When you call, and if if intake does create a CPS investigation and send it to me, then these colored ones at the bottom are the different types of case responsibilities, okay? So these priorities, priority 1, 2, and 3, dictate how much time we have to see the kiddos. So that first one is we have right now. Whatever we're doing, we drop it and we go. So it's like a 2-hour response time, okay? The second one is we have 24 hours, and that is 24 hours not counting weekends. So if it's 24 hours on Friday, we have until Saturday when it was called in, okay? The P3 is we have 3 days, and that's 3 business days. So it could really be 5 days, right? If it's called in on Thursday or something like that, or Friday. And that can be a little bit aggravating to you because you want us to come see the kids right away, but if it's a P3, that's our lowest response, and really we have 3 days. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. All right, so some scary things to get into. Reporting requirements. It is mandated that we all report, right? We're all mandated reporters. Here is the code that goes into reporting about abuse and neglect. They're two different categories. I'm just going to skip over those ones really quick. Oh, right here it's important. It says immediately report. So we've had some issues, especially in Weber County, that people will hold on to these reports until the next week or until the kids are going to go on a vacation or school's going to be out for a little bit. And they're like, oh crap, sorry. I don't know what I can say in here. Apologize.
Hey, just because I say a couple of naughty words once in a while.
I'm raw, okay? So it comes out that way. I see my kid's principal, so don't judge me. Okay, so please report it immediately. As soon as you have the concern, that needs to be called in as soon as you know, okay? I can understand if you want to wait a little bit to get all the information for that day, but really it should be called in that day as soon as you understand it. And the other part that's hard for us too, especially if it gets called in as a P2 and we have that 24 hours, is if you wait for the end of the day, we then either wait until the next day to go and see the kid in that 24 hours, or we go to the home. And we like to see the kids at school because we can interview them at your school. The parents aren't there to stop us. They're not there to tell the kids to say, hey, don't talk about this. So as soon as you find out in the morning, call it in the morning, okay? Don't wait until the end of the school day. All right?
And we always get the parents mad at us. We let you talk to them, and we believe and we know that's the way it's supposed to be. But we always end up in trouble because we did that, correct?
Correct, yeah. They do come down on you pretty hard.
Yeah, okay.
So that brings up a good point I want to talk about too, is when you call in a case, if you become the referent, that means you're anonymous to the families, okay? A lot of times they will say, oh, CPS told me that you're the one who called it in. That's not true. If that happened, I could be penalized pretty severely. It's a misdemeanor for me to disclose that. Could be jail fines. That could be a whole bunch of stuff I don't want to get into or ever have put on me. So we will never tell anyone that you're the one who called in. However, with that, a caveat, right? Information we receive might lead them to understand it was you when we talk to them. It just happens. But if they ever call up and say, hey, CPS said that you're the one who called it in, a lot of parents use that as a tactic to get you to disclose yourself. So just say, I don't know what you're talking about. They showed up here today. It's a surprise for us too. Okay?
Awesome.
So, yeah. As you can see in this one, failure to report is a Class B misdemeanor. So everyone who's a mandated reporter, and that's everyone, could fall under this. If you don't report what's going on and you're holding on to it, you could be charged with that misdemeanor, okay? That's very serious. And with that, you could lose the ability to teach and to do different certain functions, okay, with children.
Now, is it okay if I ask questions as we go along?
Yeah.
Now on that one, we tell our teachers that, we tell our paraprofessionals that, a lot of times they do come to the principal, but we also try to get the principal to say, you're the one who saw it, knows about it, I'll be here to support you as you call. That kind of is, we're okay to do that.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Please do that, because that would be secondhand if you called.
Yes.
If the teacher is the one who witnessed it, have them call, be the referent. Because as I'll get into it, we will call the referent as soon as we get the case. We want to talk to you. We want to make sure all the information we have is correct. If there's any information that intake left out, or they're human, sometimes they make mistakes, we want to make sure it's correct, right? So we'll call you at the beginning of the case, and we'll call you at the end of the case as well. Okay. All right, so some things to help you, I guess, feel better about calling is there is immunity for calling in. You are protected. Okay, if you call in a concern and if it was false, but you didn't know that, you're calling to your best ability, you are protected. You won't be held liable. Okay. There are some exceptions, and it goes into this one and the next one. Basically, some exceptions to that being immune is if you call knowing that what you're saying is false, then you could get in trouble for that, okay? But like I said, most times you guys are receiving it from the kids or from other people. You're calling into what you believe to be true or what you have concerns about. You are protected.
I got a question.
Yeah.
And just kind of being new here in Box Elder, as we make a call to that, do we also? I'm assuming I would let Heidi Jo know, who's my meeting supervisor, and then Emily Lynn's our HR.
That's in our district policy, and you let your direct supervisor know. So the teachers in your building need to notify you. But not HR.
Yeah, I mean, we fully support whatever district policies you have for all of that. Just the biggest thing is if you have a concern, we need to know as soon as possible and have all the information that you have.
And don't pass on the reporting. That's something we have had a problem with.
Yeah. And just know you call it in, you're protected, right? There's nothing that's going to happen to you if you call it in thinking, yeah, I had a concern. And that's really like the protected language. I had a concern, I called it in. Bam. Nothing else could happen. Okay. Okay, so from my experience, what I've seen in my 5 years here are some pitfalls to avoid by you guys, the school, teachers, nurses, whoever it may be, is when you have these concerns, please don't interview the kids, okay? It's okay for you to gather information saying, oh, you have a scratch on you, how'd you get that? As soon as they say, oh, my dad hit me or something like that, please leave it at that, call us, okay? If you are interviewing them, we have a part in our interview where we ask, has anyone talked to you about this before? And they say, oh yeah, Heidi Jo West, I talked to her and she said this. Bam, now we have an issue because the court could say that you're leading the child, you're telling the child what to say. It could just mess up a lot of things, okay? And then also yeah.
We add on to that. We've just had some pretty high profile cases in our district that have been looked at where that becomes the case, that the information coming from the students gets really confused the more that it's talked about in educational context with other teachers asking them about it, or just lots of individuals, even parents in the community, when it becomes common knowledge that there's a situation. So just as often as possible, try to avoid that. When necessary, we'll work it directly with our local offices to ensure that.
Thank you. Yeah, perfectly said. There are studies out there that show when a child experiences a trauma, the first experience that they say is probably the best one because it's so raw, they're telling it through their emotions. Once they tell that story over and over again, things either get embellished or missed. The story just isn't as pure, okay? And you can see that with a lot of different people. As they talk and tell you the story over and over again, things might get embellished or missed, okay? The other part of this is please don't take photographs of the injury. That might be tempting because you want to document it on your part. I don't know what your guys' policy is, but we ask that you don't. Let us come in there and do that for you, okay? We have specialized rulers that will come in, we'll take pictures, we'll document it. There's a certain way that you have to take these photos. Take a picture of the child showing the the bruise wherever it's at and their whole body. Then you go in layer by layer, you get closer and closer and closer until that's all you see. Okay, and you have to do that for every bruise that they have. So there's a certain way it has to be done. And if you take pictures of the child, it may cause them to be afraid or concerned, and then they don't tell us everything. They get scared to talk to us, okay? This other part, don't confront the parent or whoever the alleged perpetrator is. Let us do that. If you tip them off that there is a concern that you've called DCFS, a lot of times they don't let us talk to the kids. They'll hold them from school. We have a certain amount of time we have to see them. We'll miss that priority. We'll go to the home, try to do everything we can to see these kiddos, but we can't make them deliver their kids to us, okay? That's why we come to the schools, because we have the statutory right to come to your guys' school, interview the kids without the parents' knowledge, and then go from there, okay? With that said, we always do contact the parents. We have 24 hours after seeing their kiddo to let them know that we just saw their kid, okay? Okay, so this is a big part.
Daniel, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, please.
Is that different if the allegation's not made about the parent? Like if it's made about one of their children, their other children, or an aunt or uncle, is there a difference there?
There is, yeah. So the question is if it's different with the call that comes in, right? So basically, if we have two kind of cases, one in-home perpetrator cases and two out-of-home perpetrator cases. An in-home could be the parent, it could be somebody who lives in the home, it could be somebody who has direct access to the child. That makes an in-home case, where then we can go and see the kids without anyone's knowledge, without permission. When we get to the realm of out-of-home perpetrator cases, so the perp lives out of home, it could be a coach, could be whoever it is, then we have to get parents' permission to do everything, okay?
But we leave that up to you. We
Yeah.
don't need to sort that out.
Yeah, please do. So this coaching the part, you may want to tell the kid, oh, you're safe, tell the truth, tell them what happened. Please don't do that, okay? Don't even say, are you okay to talk to them? That's a big part we had in Weber County as well, is teachers would say, hey, are you okay to talk to them alone? Don't do that. We will do that in our interview. We are obligated to ask them if they're okay to talk to us alone. If they say no, we'll ask them, do you have somebody here that you feel comfortable sitting in with you? And we might come grab you as a teacher or administrator or who else they name, okay? But if they say, yeah, I'm okay to talk to you alone, then we'll go ahead and do that. Okay, it's a very soft interview, open-ended questions. I'll never say, tell me about your bruise. I'll never say, tell me about when dad hit you. I'll say, oh, I see you have a mark on your arm. Where'd that come from? I understand somebody may be concerned about you. Tell me why somebody would be concerned. Has anything happened to you that you don't feel is right? Okay, stuff like that. So very open-ended, very soft. A lot of kids actually come out of that session of the interview thinking that they had like a conference with a therapist or with a school staff. They're not really upset about us talking to them. They're more upset about what happened to them and remembering that, okay? Don't make promises. So don't tell the child, oh, hey, you go talk to them, whatever. You can have X, Y, and Z. Don't do that. That, again, is a lot of issues that we probably won't be able to go along in the case. We'll have to close it because the child only said things because he was promised, okay? Any questions? All right. Okay, so definitions of abuse and neglect. Poor parenting does not constitute abuse. And it says DCFS must show the impact to the child in order to make a supported finding. What that means is we don't punish poor. We don't punish people who are trying their best. It gets a little interesting when you get into different cultures and all that stuff. They still cannot hit the child like they may have been allowed to in a different culture, but there's different things that we'll do because they may not know. So it's more of an education than a punitive action, okay? But still, we stop the abuse. But if you have somebody who is just not able to adequately care for their child all the way, please still call it in so we can help them out with services, but it doesn't mean they're getting in trouble, okay? Okay, physical harm, as you can see in here, there's two different types of harm. There's physical harm, there's emotional harm. And then we get into a little bit more of the scarier ones, the sexual abuse and sexual exploitation. So harm, we have to show that the harm actually impacted the child in some way. And emotional abuse, I'll tell you, is the toughest one to prove. We have to prove that the perpetrator intended to do the harm. We have to show that there's lasting effect. We have to show that the child understood the harm and that they internalized it. So there's a lot that goes into it. And with emotional harm, we most likely need to get a therapist to sign off saying, yeah, this was emotional abuse. Okay, so that one's the toughest. Okay, threat of harm. This falls under physical abuse. If a parent never hit the child but says, I'm going to beat the crap out of you, I'm going to do this, X, Y, and Z to you, that is physical abuse because they are threatening to harm them, okay? Okay, so now I went to that, I want to go into how to report. There's two different ways that you can report. One, you can call this number right here, and they're open all the time. You can also go online, and I don't know if I put that in here, I apologize. But if you want to, you can send in a referral online, just send all the documents that you have, everything like that. What we really need are these bolded things. We need to have the child's name. If you have the name of the parent and the guardian, that's even better. Most important, we need their address. And then we need the alleged perpetrator's name. If you don't have that, that's okay. We have cases all the time where it's opened up as an unknown perpetrator, okay? And we'll figure out who it is. But be as detailed as possible. Give us all the information you have. You can call in two ways. You can say, here's my name, all this information, or you can say, I'd like to be anonymous. And that, it's tough when you're anonymous because we can't call you, we can't update you, we can't get any more information from you, but you're a little bit more protected in your mind, right? However, remember, we never tell anyone who you are, who the referent is, okay? Okay, so when you call it in, these are things to expect. Someone like me, one of my team members will come to your school, will say, hey, can I see this child? It's actually a statutory obligation by yourself to furnish the kids to us, to let us see them, okay? So if any parent ever asks you, you are obligated by the state, by law, to allow us to see those kids, okay? And I gave out some paperwork that described what that entails, and if you have any questions about that, let me know. With being the referent, we will never tell you if we took the family to court. We won't tell you a lot of the information at the end of the case, but we will tell you that the case is closing, okay? There's just certain information that we have to keep confidential that we can't share with you, even though you called it in. But we can tell you, hey, I have this case, I'm coming to go see the kid, any other information you have. We may call you again throughout the case saying, I just had this question, or do you have any more information about X, Y, and Z? Okay. Then right there it says that we'll call and let you know that the case is closed. Okay, so when we go out to the school and we interview the kids, we can never force them to talk to us. So if they, and this is frustrating for you because you might see us walk out not being able to do an interview, and that's frustrating because you guys are in the ground or in the trenches seeing these things happen. And if we can't do anything about it and you keep seeing it, it's so frustrating. I get that. I really do. I could imagine just being a teacher not being able to do anything more than report and still see the effects happening to the child, okay? But if they don't talk to us, there's nothing we can do about that. If we go to the home and they don't let us in the home, there's nothing we can do. We could try to get a warrant to talk to the kids, and we've done that before. We could try to get a warrant to go into the home. We work directly with law enforcement. So whenever a case is called into intake, that case is also sent to law enforcement. And we work our cases in tandem, okay? Any questions so far about that? Yeah.
From a prosecutor's perspective, I understand that we have the right to be anonymous, but keep in mind that if something isn't clear cut in an investigation,
Thank you. Yeah, we love Tyler, our AG, but we also hate him at times because he's very good at saying, okay, tell me this information. If we don't have it, but we're like, these kids are in danger, we need to get them out. And he's like, statutory, like we don't have anything to go off on. And we'll try to bribe him or threaten him, whatever we can. But he's very good at saying we don't have it. So the more information you can give us, the better, okay? As soon as that CPS case is open, like I said, we'll call the referent. We'll also review all history of the family. So we look at criminal history. We look at DCFS history. We do what's called an SDM, a structured decision-making process, where we look at the risk and the safety of the kids in the home, okay? So what we'll do is we'll interview the children impacted. We may interview the other kids in the home if it's pertinent. We'll also interview the parents and caregivers. And then after that, after we have all the information we can collect from the child and family, then we'll interview the alleged perpetrator and collect all other documents as we can from doctors. The other cool thing about that is medical staff, they have to give us the medical information on the child so we can see if the child's been in there before, if there's concerns, there's bruises that just don't match up to what they're saying, all that kind of stuff, okay? I apologize.
No, that's just me, sorry.
Okay. Like I said, I'm tethered to my phone. I've got to be careful. All right, so we'll do that SDM, structured decision making, for their safety and their risk. Their safety means if we go there and find out that the kids are not safe, we have to do a safety plan. We have to remove the kids. We have to do something, right? We can't just let the kids stay there unsafe. Even if the parents are not letting us see the kid, if it comes down to we have a lot of information showing that they are not safe, we then would talk to Tyler, get that warrant from the judge, and go and remove the kids, okay? And then also we do a risk. At the end of our case, we do a risk to show what is the likelihood that this child or children will be neglected or abused in the future, okay? We'll also do a suicide screener for all kids who are 10 years and older. That's another obligation that we have. And if there is a child who is under 1 year old, we'll do that safe sleep assessment to make sure that the parents are putting them down right, that there's nothing in the cribs, that they won't have SIDS or won't suffocate, that they won't leave them on the bed. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of cases where babies have suffocated because they're left in a soft cushion or just put on the bed for a little bit and they ran downstairs. So there's been a lot of cases about that. We'll also do a developmental milestone to see if the kids are on track for the developmental stages. And then we'll look at doing a unscheduled home visit, meaning we don't tell the parents we're coming, or we'll call the parents and say, hey, we're coming, are you here at this day or that day? What works best for you? And that depends on if it's a in-home perpetrator case or an out-of-home perpetrator case, okay? So here is the outcome of all the cases. One of these findings is what is put on every case that you call in. Either we will unsupport it, and when we unsupport a case, it doesn't mean that it's not true. It just means we don't have enough information to show that it is true, that they are being abused or neglected. The second category is supported. We found through our investigation that the abuse or neglect did happen, okay? That without merit is if a case is called in and we find that it was untrue, it was false. That means without merit, we don't put it on the parent's record saying that they had an investigation, okay? It still goes in their file, but it shows without merit, okay? Unable to locate happens quite often. Means we're unable to locate anyone in the home. If we talk to a parent, we can't use this. If we talk to a child, we can't use this because we located them, right? So if we talk to them, then we go to that unable to complete. Yes?
I have a question on the unable to locate. So let's say that we call you on a Friday morning, but you can't get anybody out there, and then the kid is ghosting you, and so is the parent. If you're unable to locate,
Yeah. Great question. So basically what we do when we can't find the kid, we have 7 policies that we have to fulfill when trying to find the kiddos. The first one is going to the school, talking to the referent, going to the home, trying to call all phone numbers, doing what we call a clear search and an EREP search. Basically, anything that you have tied to your name with an address or phone number, we'll pull that and we'll try all those addresses and all those phone numbers, okay, in the state of Utah. We'll also contact police. We may ask them to do a welfare check. We may ask if they have other addresses or phone numbers in their system that we don't have. And we may ask them to come to the door with us. Sometimes it's a little tricky because police will use us as a threat to parents, saying, if you don't do this, then I'm going to call DCFS, okay? With us having police come to the parents' door, it's kind of a threat too, saying, hey, we have law here, listen, kind of thing.
But so when we're dealing with like an unable to locate situation, we'll work with you guys. Like if you can help us locate the kids, we're gonna talk to you. We'll do whatever. We'll exhaust all options to try to find them until, like Daniel said, we've met all those policies and then we have to move on. But we'll do everything we can, including working with you guys, because you guys have a lot of information.
Yeah, if we can't find them, we do love it when you'll call us and say, hey, Timothy is here today, and then we can go and interview him, okay? So if we're ever having issues and we ask you to do that, please help us out. It means we're not able to find them, okay? That last one is a false report. So those are very, very hard to prove. We have to show that the intended caller intended to mislead the agencies when they called in, okay? That, I've only had to do that probably 2 times in my 5 years. And so a lot of that is really the custody battles between parents, and still that's tough to prove. Every time a case is investigated, it goes into our database. We do have 2 different licensing. We have the LIS and the MIS. Basically, anytime we support a finding that is not found to be severe or chronic, it goes into our MIS system. And that means DOPL won't see it. A lot of employers won't see it. We just investigate it even if we support it, okay? If it met the realm of being severe or chronic, where these are the really bad cases, all sexual abuse are severe or chronic, then it goes into the licensing system. DOPL gets that. The schools would get that. Anytime you're trying to hire this individual, it would pop up and flag you, okay? So like it says in here, certain jobs will be affected. Licensing and fostering, you won't be able to do, be a foster parent. You won't be able to volunteer. You won't be able to help us out in different cases, being on a safety plan. There's just a lot that goes into the punitive action of being supported on the LIS, the severe or chronic. Okay, so I'll let Andy take over. This goes into more of the ongoing aspects, talking about the interventions, the things that we try to do to help the families out, everything like that. Yeah, you have a question? Yeah. Okay, and I 100% respect that you're trying to protect the kids. Thank you for doing that, because there are imposters who will call and try to get information, a parent who doesn't have rights to their kid, whatever it may be. On the other hand, I did talk to Heidi Jo West. I gave her all of my team's cards and information. If that is able to get sent to your guys' schools, if we call you, please, please, please let us know the information we're asking, Sometimes we have to drive really far distances. We cover all of Box Elder County. And so it's tough when we're trying to go see a kiddo, and then we also have to drive an hour or 30 minutes to the next school or to the next home, okay?
Yeah, and Mindy created a sheet with those in it that she sent out to secretaries and principals. So if you need a new copy of that, let her know and she'll get it for you.
Thank you.
So we are safe. If somebody calls, we can look at the phone number and see if it's the right phone number, because they can still say, I mean, we need to check that to make sure we're not talking to a parent that doesn't have rights. That's a little touchy, right?
Yeah.
I want to clarify, you're talking about like if they're coming in person, but Marcy said if they call over the phone. So is there a distinction there, or do you just say, if they call over the phone and they say, hey, this is Dan Roosh, I need to meet with, or I need you to send me the information, and we have a badge for you, do we just release it then and just assume that the person's not impersonating you?
A great tool to figure that out is ask us the phone number we're calling on. And if we always have, like, this is my work phone, there's one number to it. So if I'm able to give you that correct, it might be like a code word, right? My phone number is a code word. If I give you the correct number, then you know I'm the right person. Okay.
Tyler?
And real quick, just because I think one thing that maybe touched on, but again, talking about like, sometimes CPS workers will call just to see if the child is there that day before they drive, an hour or so. That's before. So who's this random person calling, right? But hopefully there can be that communication between the division and school district to verify over the phone that they are.
Yeah. Thank you, Tyler.
So in a nutshell, we're happy to do whatever we need to do to verify our identity, because Daniel's given you like all the CPS workers. Sometimes people from my team are going to be calling you guys, and you probably won't have that information. So we're happy to do whatever you need us to do to verify.
And it is high turnover in this job, a lot of bad stuff we see. And so if we ever do have somebody quit, I will always let Heidi, Joe, Wes know and update that information. You had your hand up first.
Maybe that's what we need to do is put a code word attached to some of those. Because I always make an email. I just say it.
And we're happy to do that. That's simple.
Even if it is their phone number, we list right along that we can verify that our caller IDs and stuff don't recognize.
Maybe just the business cards too. If you want to send over the business cards, we'll put it with their ID and then we'll have to.
Okay.
Is that good?
Yeah, and what we do with like the New Hope Crisis Center is we do have a code word. If you guys want to do something like that, we can do that as well. We would love to protect the kids as much as possible. And if it means giving a code word every time we call, that would be great. Okay. Of course, if we go to your school and you can see our badges, it's okay for you to say, "Can I see your badge? Can I take a copy of it?" Some schools, they'll take a copy of it and put it in a file each time we come and see the kiddo. So that way it protects you a little bit more. I don't know what you want to do. Other schools have us fill out a list saying who we are, who we're seeing, what our action is if we're taking the kid or leaving the kid at school. Okay. So whatever you guys want to do, we will follow to protect you as a school.
Is there a badge number on the back of those? I'm looking at your badges, they don't have badge numbers.
They don't. Yeah.
One thing that would really help us is when your people come into the school is if they would identify themselves. A lot of them come in and they say, I need to speak to so-and-so, but they need to introduce who they are and where they're from. I always have to ask now, who are you? So that would be like, if you could talk to them and say, please, take a minute to do that.
I do apologize if that has happened. That's not supposed to. I will talk to my team about that, because when we go to a school or anywhere, we have to tell you who we are, okay, and furnish our ID as well. So I apologize. I will correct that. Yeah. The tough part with that is a lot of times we're calling on the road. and so we don't have the opportunity to email. The code word that we have with New Hope, it changes every month. That might be tougher with all the schools. But whatever you guys want to do for us to protect you as a school and kids, we'll do that.
The code word would work, we could send it to our district office, I have a district office, and I get multiple calls every month. And the code word would be great, out to the
Perfect. Yeah, and if you want to make that code word and then let us know what it is, that way it's more protected by you. Then I'll let my team know each month. If you want to change it each month, just email me, and then that will be the code word that we come to your school with or call. Okay. And I guess if we come to your school, we don't really need the code word because we'll have our ID. But if we call, yeah, great questions, guys. Professionals, right? Okay, Andy. Anything else? Oh yeah, thank you.
Be careful what I say. All right. So like I explained earlier, when my team gets involved, we are dealing with the families that Daniel's team, they've supported a case. We've talked about it and we've determined that they need some kind of ongoing services to help them. And so like explained, we can either work with them voluntarily or with the court. The majority of what we do is court intervention, but we do work with families on a voluntary basis. And it's kind of a special set of circumstances has to be there. They have to really acknowledge they have a problem and want the help. But the main thing that we work on with families is we'll help connect them to whatever services that are necessary to mitigate those safety issues. The most common example is, the big reason we get involved is because of substance use. And so we'll have them go do a substance abuse assessment and connect them with a therapist that can provide them with the treatment that they need. We will also make sure kids are connected with any kind of therapy services, and help them in any ways that we identify. We have assessments that we do, and I won't get into it, but we have an assessment that will help us identify any needs that the families have, not just the needs that were obvious from the safety concerns. Like I said, court intervention is a huge part of what we do. That's why we have an attorney that represents us. In those cases, we'll have the judge order those services. But in either case, essentially what we do is we use that assessment that I was talking about, create a service plan. And with that service plan, we want to surround them with the big team. And that certainly should include the schools. And I will tell you from my experience, when the schools weren't included, it wasn't because the school was unwilling. It's because there are a lot of moving parts to a case. You're managing, 4 different therapists across everybody in the family. You're working with family members. You're figuring out placements, and then you're figuring out placement again because placement didn't last very long. And it's just really easy for us to forget that the school's involved. And so that's something I work on with my team, is making sure we're talking to the school and getting the school involved. And I really can say from this district, we've had a lot of really good involvement. Like as I look around the room, I see many of you that have been in team meetings with us before, but we want as many people on that team to help these people be successful in those services. And so, like I said, I know that, so if there's a disconnect, I want you to know that's not from you guys, and especially this district. This district has been really good. I think one of the biggest things, and I know we've met with some of you in the district like several months ago to talk about this, is our youth who are in care, and getting them connected, making sure that intake form is filled out, and that you guys have that information. I hope we're doing better. I think off the top of my head right now, I think we only have 2 kids that are actually in foster care that are enrolled in this district. One question I did have is, so a lot of districts, they want to have a new form every school year. Are you guys the same way? Like the intake form, the youth in care? Okay. So if we did one last school year, you don't need a new one? Okay. All right. That's awesome. All right. Ogden, Weber, and Davis all make us do a new one every single year. So that's really helpful. What was I just saying? So I think, yeah, like I said, I don't want to take a lot of time going to all the ins and outs of it. Just the biggest thing is know that, well, see, there was another slide, this slide right here. So this slide shows the process of us being involved with the interventions. So this one specifically looks like it's talking about a child coming into foster care. Begins there with them being placed into custody, all the court process to determine if it was necessary to remove the child. We have a bunch of court hearings that you see all the way up there until the review hearing. This flow chart's a little misleading because we could have cases could be open for, anywhere from, foster care case is typically open for 12 months. So we have a lot of review hearings. We typically will have a hearing every 90 days at least to review the progress. But in between all of those is we have what we call child and family team meetings where we talk about that service plan that we created and talk about the services that still need to be completed, services that haven't been completed, maybe services that we identify need to be completed. And a huge part is especially with the kids, is tracking how things are going in school, what the school can offer to support the family. And so that's what having you guys attend those team meetings is helpful. And like I said, I think the biggest thing is making sure you guys know who the caseworker is, that the caseworker has contacted you, that you're getting the information in a timely manner. I know that's one thing. Like I said, sometimes I'm very guilty of this when I was a caseworker myself, is remembering like, oh, I didn't invite someone from the school for this team meeting that's today. I'll send them an email really quick and see if they could come to this team meeting that's supposed to start in an hour. So I totally understand. If you guys are getting emails like that and you can't make it, don't feel bad about that. That's on us. We need to communicate with them. I think the biggest struggle we have, it's a little easier when we have the kids that are in elementary school because it's easy to identify who's the teacher. When we have the kids in secondary education, it's, they have lots of teachers, and sometimes I think we have a hard time identifying who really should be at those meetings. I really encourage the caseworkers just to reach out to the principal and to talk to them, and you guys could work together to identify who might be the best person to help us out. I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts or questions about that? That's what I told you. Yeah. So, yeah.
Do the foster parents have access to that paper? Because usually when they come in and enroll and they say, I'm fostering this person, I ask them if they have access to that, and I have contact.
So you're talking about the youth in care form?
Yeah.
They do not have access to that because the way the process works is the caseworker, before they're coming to enroll them in school, we should have taken care of that and send it to the district prior to the foster parent enrolling them in school. Unfortunately, that's a thing that's easy to fall through the cracks. And so a lot of times they will try to bring a kid to get him enrolled. And you guys will look up and be like, we don't have the youth in care form. And so, but it's on the caseworkers to do. So we'll do what we can to quickly do that. But we're working really hard to make sure we've got those in as soon as possible. It's just, so you would contact the caseworker. But really, if you have a foster parent that brings a child in and they need to be enrolled and we don't have that form, then the best thing is to tell the parent, like, you need to call the caseworker and let them know. And then, if I need to help out in getting that, I can do that. I think the other, go ahead.
So in general, Randy is over youth and care in the district. If you have somebody that comes in and you've got questions, you can contact him, or you can contact Kelly Sorensen, who is his counselor, head on youth and care. We do have a check and connect mentor that can come out, and if they need to go find, they can contact the caseworker and get a hold of you and work on getting that form if you need to. So if you've got questions, that's all through Sunrise High School, does all of the youth and care for the district. Okay?
All right.
And if you can repeat that was really good.
Okay, about.
Whatever they say.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so they were saying that Randy Rasmussen is now the person over youth and care. So he's the one that you need to bug. And yeah, is it Emily? Is she still the checking connect? Okay.
Emily Burnham is the chick.
Perfect. Yeah, she's emailed me directly several times to say, hey, I think we might have a kid. Do you have information on them? And we've been able to talk. Do you have a question? Okay, so you're asking, yeah, so she's asking about the foster parents bringing in a form that's a right to enroll. So yes, that is a form that foster parents have. It's basically saying that the children are in the custody of the state of Utah, but this parent has the right to fill out whatever paperwork is necessary to enroll them in school. That's a part of a packet of information that we give to them when a child is placed with them.
So if I ever get a parent, so I was just if I ever get a parent that brings that in and I haven't heard from Kelly, I make sure I let Kelly at Sunrise know that I received that. Sometimes we do have to follow up with caseworkers, make sure that we have received everything at that.
Yes, yeah, like I said, yeah. So yeah, sometimes you will have that happen where the foster parent's bringing a child in to enroll them in school. Sometimes that's because they just did it faster than the caseworker was able to get the youth and care form filled out. Or sometimes they just forgot about it. I'm not gonna lie, I have one kid on my team. I call them a kid, they're all kids. I'm a lot older than them. One guy on my team that he's pretty forgetful, and the youth and care form is a very common thing that he forgets. And so if you're at Lakeview, I can think of the exact scenario that probably happened on. So that's yeah. So just if you do find that, I think it's great. Check with Kelly, and then someone will reach out to me, and we'll get that taken care of. Any other questions about youth and care? I think the biggest thing when we have kids who are in foster care, a question we get from the school all the time, and I think it's a wonderful question that you guys are following up with this, is like, who can have contact with the kids? What does that look like? And that's really important that we are communicating with you guys, because that's something that evolves over the course of a case. Typically speaking, when we have kids come into foster care, we will have different levels of supervision for visits. It usually starts with someone from DCFS supervising. Then we will identify like a family member or a family friend or somebody that can supervise visits, and graduate up to the point where parents are having unsupervised parent time. And that's really important that we're communicating that with you guys, because I know that's a big question you get all the time and a concern. You don't want a parent just to show up and take their kid at the end of the school day and they're not supposed to have contact with them. So we will work really hard to communicate that with you. If you have any questions or concerns about that, feel free to reach out to us. Hopefully the caseworker would have established really good communication with you guys so that you would know who to contact. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to me directly about those. I don't really want to take up a lot of time. I know we're probably about there anyway, but all right, yeah. So just in a nutshell, when we're working with families ongoing, our goal is to either help reunify the children with their parents, or we'll work with them in home to make sure that we've safely mitigated those issues. And every case is unique. So there's, everybody always, the big question we get from parents every time is, well, how long is this going to take? What do I have to do? And that's always it depends kind of a situation. It depends on your progress. It depends on what needs are identified, all of that. One thing I missed. Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
One thing I failed to talk about, which is actually, we hope never happens, but sometimes it does, is if there is ever a teacher who is suspected of abuse or neglect, it is your obligation, if you know anything about that, to call it in. If you ever do know anything about that and you fail to call it in, a misdemeanor, right? And so please call it in immediately, let your hierarchy know, go through whatever chain of command you have to, but that has to be called in immediately. And anything you know needs to be given to the division. Okay, any questions about that? It's something that it sucks, but.
Yes, because I've just had a couple well-meaning administrators in the past where an allegation was made, and our typical response is to investigate that and determine if there is any validity to it before we report it. Would all allegations come to you, just allegations, or are you okay if we collect evidence? If, you know, this was a parent who was really upset because they knew that they had been reported.
To protect you, any concern, any allegation you get, called in immediately. Don't just hold it. We get a lot of false reports, and we can pretty easily decide if they are false or not. We can, weed those out. Intake does a great job on that. If it gets to our team and we investigate it, we get a really good handle on if the child is telling the truth, if the information we got is truth, all that kind of stuff. The scary part is if we do find that the allegation is true and anyone did hold on to information, didn't give it to us, then we have to call the school education board. We're mandated to do that. We cannot get away from that. We have to call them and report them, which means you could be affected by your license, all this other stuff, okay? So if we ever do have to call it in, it's not us being jerks. We're mandated to do that, to report it. Okay. Yeah, for sure.
I just want to, once again, it's what I brought out before, is it could be a paraprofessional that has a student say something to them. And so many times our paraprofessionals,
that's above my pay grade.
they really don't feel like they should, but we've got to have our people say, I'll be here, I'll support you, but you got to be the one on the phone. Am I correct in that?
100% correct.
Okay, and so I think that's what I'm trying to stress really hard to our folks, that you're there. Sometimes those paraprofessionals go to your counselor, they go to a variety of people, but it can't be, well, the paraprofessional told the counselor, and the counselor told me, and now I'm telling you guys. It's got to be the one who heard it, witnessed it, whatever.
Yeah, and so for those who might be joining virtually, basically, if you have a paraprofessional who is the one suspected, that has to be called in. Whoever's seen it, whoever has knowledge about it, needs to call it in. Even if a case is already called in, protect yourself, call it in. They'll attach that information as additional information to the case. Okay. You then will become a referent, and we can call and get more information from you. It just protects you. Okay. We love the schools. We love what you guys do. It's a hard job that you guys do, and we want to protect you so much. Okay. We're here for the kids, here for the family, but you as the reference, we want to protect you. All right.
And what I tell everybody is it's easy to get bogged down in the whole mandatory reporter thing, but there is a law that says that any adult that suspects child abuse is mandated to report that. So really, it doesn't matter what position you hold in your professional life. All of us are mandated reporters. But you're right. It's so much easier if the report that's made to intake is coming directly from the person who originally got the information. That doesn't mean that you guys can't discuss that, and obviously you guys have policies about who you're going to report that to, and we respect all of that. It's just, you suspect it, let's call it, and we'll do what we need to do.
So I do have a couple schools I'm going to next week. If you still want me to do that, I can. It's going over kind of the same information, a little bit different. It's more tailored to the school staff and what to do if they suspect it, how to report it, and all that information. A little bit of this information will be in there too. I can come to your schools anytime. Let me know. I really want your school staff to be educated, informed, and to feel supported. Okay, so if you want me to go there, call me up. Heidi Jo West has my phone number. You guys can email me too through her. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you.